everybody, it's Libby again with Fearlessness. So what's fearlessness? It's that underlying grit that empowers us to forge ahead, even when hope seems distant. It's the courage to walk through those fires of hell, knowing that we're going to come out better and stronger on the other side. Stay tuned and learn how to get fearlessness. I'm your host, Libby DeLucien, and we have an amazing guest today. Cory, do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm Cory Bettinghouse. I'm located in Reno, Nevada. We have a lawn maintenance company and do everything on mainly the residential maintenance. Been doing it since college as a side gig, and then turned it really into business in about 2012. Still didn't really take it too seriously until about 2016, and then from there been growing pretty rapidly since then. So we do everything from regular maintenance to cleanups to fertilization, weed control is a heavy part, irrigation's a heavy part of it. And yeah, currently about 57 employees right now.
Nice.
And yeah, I know it's been a lot of people, and that's one thing that's been super successful is building the leadership team around that. Because if not, I definitely wouldn't know how to manage 57 people by myself. So yeah, that's what we've been doing, and also a part owner in a local bar with some buddies, and been trying to build that up in an area called Ranchera, and figuring out what that world's about, having no clue what to do, but it's been a fun entrepreneurial itch to scratch, going from that baseline of, having no clue what you're doing again, and just like, yeah, we'll figure it out. Let's go for it. So that's me in a quick little nutshell. I've been married for 15 years this year. I've got 3 kids. Lise is my oldest, turning 10 in July, and Emery's 8, and Fisher, my son, is 6. So they're just at this perfect, amazing golden age where you just, they're old enough that you don't have to change diapers and get them in the car and do all that stuff. And they're not old enough where they're talking back to you. So it's such an awesome and special age. Yeah, not yet. Not yet. So that's kind of a little baseline about me.
Awesome. So, Cory and I met, it's been a while. We were in Service Autopilot Academy and Elite together. Had the opportunity to go to your bar, if that's the same bar you're talking about.
Yep, it is.
Right? Yeah. So I've been there. And then Cory actually introduced me to EO as well, which has been great because that's a whole nother topic we could talk about. And that's really helped me personally as far as business and family. EO is great. If you don't know what it is, I highly recommend Entrepreneurs Organization to look into it. But I want to talk about something that you brought up. I have a lot of questions.
Yeah.
But I think as entrepreneurs, we all get that itch to do something else. Right. Because we always have all these ideas, and you had said, 57 employees, I've built up a great leadership team because there's no way I could have managed those 57. There's also no way you could have went and played in another sandbox, right? Done another thing. So tell me, tell us some key things that you learned building that great leadership team. What were some of the things that you went through? I'd love to hear about it.
Yeah, I think the 2 parts of that question is, and one thing I'm learning and still navigating myself was that first part of the question was saying having that itch in entrepreneurs and what you do. And so things have been crazy busy here for years. And part of that development has allowed more freedom. And it got me to a place, last November, I want to say October, November, where I was actually getting kind of bored. And so that's where at the bar as a silent owner, I was like, hey, if you guys want to help, we've been running break even, a little bit of profitable after a year, and which is great. But again, the whole purpose of this is to make money doing it, not just to have a fun place to go with your buddies from college. And so I was originally getting into that. I was like, hey, let me help out with some marketing. And that was at the same time where I signed up for EO board. And I volunteered for all these extra things because it was actually a book that I just listened to. Great book, Buy Back Your Time. Was just even as entrepreneurs, you seriously, if there isn't a problem, you're going to find a problem, or you're going to create one, just because that's kind of what you do. So unfortunately, I pendulum swing from super bored to way overcommitted. And so I'm still in life really trying to find that balance of where's a good healthy spot where you're not just spread so thin and you're doing things I mean, essentially like half-assed, like you're like just checking in and all the stuff, but like, and that is a realm that I'm still trying to figure out. Cause I feel like I'm either pendulum swing to bored or pendulum swing to overcommitted and frustrated. Right now, like it has been saying no. I think in that book, he also was saying like, if it's not a F yes, then it's an F no. And like, that's just kind of it. Like, unless you're 100% sold, don't just get yourself, busy work. So that's kind of part one that I would say of like getting into that realm, is that I created that space. So as far as the leadership team, and it has been a journey. I think from, mentor of, yours, mine, and Jonathan, and hearing stuff that he had said, like, it's just finding that hiring and always being hiring for the A players. And if they're not, if you're slow to hire and you're quick to fire. And that's always been a theme. We've been around, but there's many years that wasn't the case. And now I've been seeing way more the simplicity of that. And then just like always recruiting, always building that bench and trying to do it. Like, I mean, we do interviews we're fully staffed right now, and we're doing interviews every single day, that come in through the door, because you never know when something might change in your business. Somebody, it could be injury, it could be move, it could be just like, wow, that person was great for 30 days and now they suck. And you've just got that bench to somebody that you've done 30 interviews in the last week, and you're like, sweet, that one was the best of those 30 interviews. Let's get them in tomorrow and start training. And then it's pretty seamless. So I would say is like, a lot of the general workforce, and it's been an amazing year this year with our field staff and the people we've hired and the culture we're building. As far as the leadership team went, I would attribute a lot of the EOS stuff, reading through Traction and Rocket Fuel and stuff like that. Like you get some of those fundamentals and you figure out kind of what that organizational chart looks like. For us the main business being Cory's Lawn Service is, so we have myself and Nicole is our general manager. And then we just have each one of the divisions. So each of the divisions has a manager that's over it. So you got office manager, our maintenance manager, our FERT and weed, our irrigation manager, and then our shop and fleet. So building that team and just having organizational structure where like who's been able to report to who's, and some of those only have like one or two people in their department, but at least they're the person that's coming to the table and we're talking more than just the day-to-day work. And I think it's been really awesome this year. My general manager, Nicole, she's been fantastic. And I think I hired her, she'd kill me if I forgot, but I think it was like 2017, 2018, where it was just kind of like this, like, hey, I might have part-time work for you. And now she's running the whole ship. And it's been really cool because we do have like our level 10 meetings, which is just Nicole, myself, and TJ. So three of us that are in that. But we do a separate, so this is a little off from EOS stuff, but we do a little separate department managers. So there'll be the 6 or 7 of us in that, and a little abbreviated of a level 10 meeting. And then it's just more focused on like kind of our leadership skills. It's growth. Like, so Nicole's been sending out, even I think this week she'll send out either like YouTube videos or podcasts or books. And so like this last week was Brene Brown on vulnerability. And so like just talking about with that, and like, so we're just getting vulnerable and being open, and like how we can grow as leaders, how we can grow as just humans, and just kind of investing into one another to build that team that it's just core and solid. And it's not just, hey, go get this work done, go have that conversation with this person, hey, we're behind on this, but actually developing, those leadership skills.
I love that. It's funny. You just brought up buy back your time. When Jonathan shut down the elite group, I went to go look for another mentor. I went to go look for someone else to like get what we had in Service Autopilot Elite. And I ended up in Dan Martell's program, which is who's the author of Buy Back Your Time. And he was also Jonathan's coach. And I had no idea.
I didn't know that either.
Yep, that was Jonathan. So when Jonathan would always talk to us in Elite, and he talked about Boardroom, and he always referred to Boardroom. That's Dan Martell's group, who is the author of Buy Back Your Time. The world is so small.
That's so crazy. I had no idea.
Yep. And I was just in Denver all week with Dan Martell.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's such a small world, and I love being in that room because I see like parts of what Jonathan learned coming from him.
Hmm.
It's been really great, and it's a great book.
Oh yeah.
Highly
Well,
recommend it to our listeners if you haven't read it yet.
oh yeah. And it's cross, platform. Like, I mean, there's anything like there are so many things or one thing. And that now makes a lot more sense because I was like listening to that book and I'm just like, wait, okay, well, good. I'm doing something good on here. And, he even
Yeah,
mentions about Colby's. I'm like, yeah, we do that. Oh, we do this. And I'm like, sweet, I'm kind of on the same page of this. And that's because our mentor, Jonathan, right? He grabbed it from him. So that makes a lot more sense now, to go through that. But I mean, one thing I learned, I felt like I felt about that book was it didn't matter if it was a solo person that's just getting started off and probably less than $100,000 in revenue, or, my size business or bigger. Like, I mean, there were applicable like things to take away from that book at any level, which was freaking awesome.
yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. I love that book. And
Yep.
so I loved hearing like, the EOS, the journey. And we too run slightly modified versions of EOS. It's a heavy read. And for our listeners, like if you're just not there yet, you can always run a modified version, something that works for you. If you feel like your team is too small, like Cory just said, sometimes there's only one or two people in some of these department meetings or the L10 meeting. So I love that feedback as
Hmm.
far as, EOS. And so how is the new project going? Like you went from Cory's lawn service to then running operations for the bar.
Yeah.
How was that different? Like,
Man, it brings it back to ground level. Like, I mean, that's the thing. Like I'm saying, the boredom at here that I was feeling like last August, again, we were starting to come into the off season and, things have just been running smooth. And so, I mean, it's a great place to be. It's just, I think that can be really bad for entrepreneurs if you just sit at idle, and it's just not where our mindset is at, right? Like like you said, if there's not a problem, you're going to go create one, unfortunately. And that where you're just like, you get the itch. And that one, the circumstances of the bar had a little bit different scenario where we had a bar manager that was like, we knew was going to be temporary. Great dude, was doing a fantastic job, but it wasn't like his passion. And he was in between two jobs. He's like, oh, I can fill in. And then we had one of our operators that just life had gotten crazy for him. And we just had a heart to heart. He's like, guys, I can't do this anymore. So it would have been all on like one of the owners, just 100%. And he and I both have full-time jobs. So that's why jumping into it. But jumping into that scenario, what was crazy is it brought back this grind, I guess you would say. It's been cool to develop stuff at Cory's Lawn Service where you're like, I mean, on a weekly basis, which I mean is probably my last thing to get done outside of like a sales and marketing chair, is just payroll. So I'd say payroll is my only weekly thing that I still have to do. Like the business will not run if payroll is not paid, which I have to do immediately after this call. But like that's the only thing. And so like, and everything else runs really smooth. I mean, we're hiring, we're firing people that go, and like, I mean, realistically, they'll be, are walking on our Monday all hands meeting. I'm like, there's, two new people, and you're like, oh, hey, I don't recognize you. Like, what was your name? So it's such a cool place to be. But again, because you're so distant, not distant, but so like out of the day-to-day operations, it was really cool and frustrating to get back into the day-to-day operations on multiple levels. Like, because you're going and you're cleaning and you're ordering and you're talking with our bartenders, you're figuring out products that you don't know about. Like even starting in the mowing stuff, the reason I started this is because my parents moved into a retirement community and they're like, oh, we thought the HOA would be mowing all the grasses, and they're not. And I'm like, oh, I can figure out how to mow grass. Like, I mean, that's how it started. And so then you just figure those things out. So at the bar is kind of like, I can figure out the change of keys. Now, our bar is a self-serve one, so there's a lot of technology. Like it's not just tapping a keg and going. It's like auditing the flow meters. It's uploading all the different things. It's like figuring out all these things that go in between. But it became a new challenge that was like, oh, I'm back using my hands trying to figure what this was, and it was a cool thing. The emergency call, or like, oh crap, like I've got to go down at 10 o'clock at night because X, Y, and Z happened. And so it was interesting to get back to the basics again and remember those frustrating things that I felt with Cory's Lawn Service that I have now built out and built teams to manage or processes to manage. Now to get that view of like, okay, now what are the teams that we need to build here, or what processes need to be put in place so you don't, because you've solved it one time. So like, how do we get back to the ground floor and figure out how to solve that again? So that's been an interesting, again, totally different realm. Like we don't have anywhere close to the amount of staff, or no, because it's brick and mortar. You're not sending out a bunch of people. But then how do we make it, getting more in touch with what our clientele was? We originally started thinking like, hey, we're a bunch of dudes that like beer. Let's put a 30 tap beer wall that people can self-serve and have a giant screen for games. But then you realize that your location is a bunch of like women that come and shop, and they go to the bakery and they love that. And you walk around like, dang, we missed the mark. We've got to readjust. And so now, like, cause it's like the women is a demographic. So like the guy we hired, like, we got to get cocktails on. We've got to push forward the cocktails on tap, a lot of these things, to be able to readjust. Yeah. Wine. We have 3 wines on tap now, which, so it's just, I think that was the fun part. And again, frustrating because, man, it was me going back at 10 o'clock at night into a place and being like, this tap blew and we've got an event tomorrow morning. So we've got to make sure that's set because we don't want to be doing it before that event starts. But still like now in the hindsight, or not the hindsight, but like looking what the possibility of the future could even look like for the bar, because I've experienced it now with building out Cory's Lawn Service.
I, run into a lot of entrepreneurs who want to start another business, or they start another business or another location or another vertical. But I think for a lot of people, they don't realize that you're starting the business from like infancy. You have the experience and you're trying to apply it, but you still have to like clean the bathrooms and take out the trash.
Mm-hmm.
And it's hard for a lot of people to go back to, hey man, I didn't have to do that anymore. I don't want to do that. I want to be at the level I'm at with my other business. And we experienced that. We launched a couple locations of Organize It, and we were like, holy crap, this sucks. We were trying to do things. And we were making it difficult. And we were like trying to implement strategies at the level that our original location was at. And it was failing, and we were spending money instead of, we said, you know what, we have to start back to the basics. Like keep it simple, go back to the basics, because we have to learn how to build it again from the ground up. Yes, we have our experience, but you can't just go in and apply that level of where the other location is. You have to kind of start from zero. So I see a lot of people struggle with that, especially like wanting to do things because it's convenient for them, but it's not what the business needs. And it's because that's where they were at in that other business. They weren't in the day-to-day. They don't want to be in the day-to-day with a new business. Typically, my answer is if you don't have the money to buy your way out, you have to do it.
Yeah. No, and that's so true. And that's where like, and that's what has been also, I mean, it's also crazy to like look at the difference of revenue where I'm like, and I'm not getting still not getting paid a dime for the stuff at the bar. It's like trying to bring that back up. So again, that's going back to the days where you're sacrificing your paycheck to try and grow the success of something, because you want to be able to implement the new things. That's where you want to put your money. And I think there's times and places for that. Like, business owners can also like fail on the opposite side, where they're not paying themselves what they should be. But like this, I knew the spot we would be at. And so, but it is, like you said, it's a lot of that grind, and you got to be willing to do it. So, and I think it was super frustrating at the first part of it, but it has also become exciting because of that, knowing what the future could entail, knowing what you could build. And I think that's the exciting part about that. But you definitely have got to be that willingness to grind, because you can't just go and say, well, here it is. For me, I could, hey, in our level 10 meeting at Cory's Lawn Service, let's think through this. Let's set up a process. Let's, IDS it and get a plan in place. But at the end of the day, it's more of like, I'm there then to oversee and make sure that people are doing it. And if it's at the bar, it's you're doing it hands-on. Like you might be able to grab one other person to help you out implement, but at the end of the day, like it's getting that grind back on. So if you're not willing to do it, or you can't buy yourself out of it, then like that's a good thought of like, and this bar idea even starts like, this would be a fun thing with my buddies. And it's like, we were super naive, like you're talking about with your business and going to another one. Oh, we'll just start another, another location. It'll be that easy. And you're like, crap, this is a lot of work.
And it's frustrating. I mean, and you picked a hard industry. I've owned a bar, so I've been in the bar business. Never do it again, ever.
Probably, yeah.
Learned a lot. But, I love hearing the struggles, and I hear, some entrepreneurs, I want to know, are you guys bored? Like, for our listeners, do you feel bored in your business? And look at those times that you feel bored. I was coaching someone, and I told them, I said, oh my God, like, you're creating so much chaos, and you're setting everyone up to fail in your company by doing these things. I said, they're not going to succeed with this much chaos. And she goes, well, I'm fine with it. I like it. And I said, yeah, because that's what we thrive on. That's what we like. It's because you're bored right now and you're looking for that chaos. We are chaos and adrenaline junkies as entrepreneurs. And we will do things on purpose, like maybe make bad investments, maybe start other locations. And we may know that it's going to fail, or maybe we know it's a bad idea, or maybe they're great ideas. But at the end of the day, I think we do these things so that we feel alive.
Yeah. And that is, I think and that's what I'm still learning, like very much in this realm of where you've got a business that's going super well. It's cruising. You've built up a good leadership, and then you're just like, okay, I'm a little bored, because I still even agree. Like, I still put that idea, like, it's one of our core values here at Cory's Line, is simple. Like, our acronym is TENNIS, which is teamwork, efficiency, neighborly, industry leader, and simple. So like, even when we IDS stuff, like, we're like, wait, is this simple? So like, that is a huge factor in the simplicity, but I still haven't figured out how to do that in my life. Like I can keep the core value at work, but when it comes to my life, I'm like, this isn't simple. Like, Cory, like you make the chaos. And like, so I think it's really cool to now see that pendulum swing and knowing it, at least identifying in my head. So I feel like when that next time comes up, like Dan Martell says, is like, if it's not an F yes, like if your brain isn't like, I'm all in, I'm ready to go, I'm ready to grind, I got the finances for it, F yes, I'm in. It needs to be an F no. Like, it needs to be a, hey, like, I think that's awesome and it sounds good, but this needs to not happen. I cannot do this right now.
So that being said, let's move into, how do you work at building Cory's Lawn Service, building the bar, building your businesses with a holistic approach to, your life and your values? How do you incorporate those together?
I think that there is, a big part of it is a combination. I got 3 kids, I got a family, and I also
a great wife, by the way. She's awesome.
And, yes, no, I'd be way more of a hot mess if it wasn't for her. So it was like, the thing is still finding that balance. And I started it even, about 2 years ago, I would say, when things were still a little bit chaotic. It's easy to say now. I would say in the last 2 weeks, I've bailed from work because a buddy calls up. He's like, hey, I need a 4th for this golf tournament. And I'm a big golfer. And so I'm like, hang on, let me just reschedule this meeting. And yep, I'll be there. I'll see you at the course in an hour. Like, being able to do that last minute and having the freedom that I'm not like, are there responsibilities I should have done that day? Absolutely. But can they wait another day? And I've created that freedom. That is a thing. But 2 years ago, things would be more chaotic, but it was still a realization that your body, your mind needs to be able to Sabbath. It needs to be able to have a rest. And my family needs my attention, and myself needs my attention. It's like, so it would be the mentality, I think, and on the initial start would be this regimen of I know Monday through Thursday, I'm going to grind. I've got a bunch of stuff that I got to get done. But unless it is like I was trying to protect as much as I could for my Friday. My Friday, I'm going to come in, I'm going to check in, I'm going to deal with any last minute stuff, and then I'm going to get out on the golf course. And that's going to start my weekend. And that gives me a little time for myself, any of the buddies that I want to hang out with for the week, any of those extra things that I was like, at least created a time frame that I could do it. And Saturdays, unless there's, the problem is the kids are now at an age where you got birthday parties. That is ideally our family day. And it does, and gosh, times of season, it involves running all over the place for sports and for kids' birthday parties. But that's not a day that daddy works. That's not a day I plan on golfing. There's a handful of tournaments in a year that, yes, I will, or conferences and things like that. But our normal week to week Saturday is kind of like our family Sabbath day, like if we can. And then Sunday is like a blend. I'm a big, also largely involved as a lay pastor at our church. And so with that, like there's a lot of church activities that go with that, and meetings that are on Sundays. But then if, that whatever extra time is still built in with the family. So, I mean, it's amazing. Like even, something that I would love and want to do, like friends would be like, hey, I got a, tea time on Saturday. Let's hang out. Let's do this. I'm like, nope, that's my family day. That's not going to happen. Definitely the age of the kids, we are still running around and doing activities, but we're doing it all together. That is our family day, that we're trying to keep precious. So I guess you would say, like, when it's trying to find that balance, and, it also health stuff like has a huge part to do with that too. Which, I mean, like I got into like a good regimen. My wife and I work out together on a regular basis in the afternoons after work. So that's the thing, like, work shuts down, you get home, you crush a workout in, you get to the dinner family, you do the bedtime routine. So like all that stuff from 5:30 in the morning till 9:30 at night, like it is pretty built in Monday through Thursday. Friday, able to get some personal time, family day, Saturday, and Sundays like church and family stuff as well. So I think it's, and Dan Martell gets into that as well. Like, I mean, not to just like, like pump this book up, but I'm thinking, when you have the calendar, it at least there's still going to be chaos in it. But when you can formulate what that calendar looks like, there's freedom in it, because then you can open those times, or those times for me to look forward to. Like, I'm looking forward to that Friday. I'm looking forward to that Saturday so we can hang out as a family. And then I know I'm back at it on Sunday with meetings and church. And, if there is extra time, then great. Let's go out for a walk. Let's do, a bike ride with the family in the evening, because by chance there wasn't something up.
Yeah. I've been using the perfect week, which is one of Dan's frameworks, for the last 3 years probably. And that's why when people say, like, Libby, you're everywhere, I see you doing everything, it's strategic. I'm using time as a tool, right? Instead of trying to manage it, I'm using my time as a tool to get what I want versus constantly chasing it. And so if you have not seen the perfect week, I've done some slight teachings on it. It's in Dan's book. It is a great framework. But then we go even further than that. And I practice the preloaded year. So we can preload our entire year of travel, of family. First maintenance comes in, like maintenance on me, then family travel. And then like, what speaking or convention things am I going to do, and how do they fit in to my perfect week? And so that has really helped me be able to achieve more, but then also have more time to myself. Is I am super religious about my calendar and structuring it. And then if something's on my calendar, it trumps anything else that comes. So that's why it's so important to load your calendar with those important things. And then that spot is sacred. And I hold it, and then I know what to say yes to, and I know what to say no to. And because I had this problem with saying no to stuff, I would always just say yes. Oh, I'll help you. Yeah, let's jump on a call. Like, and I'm self-sabotaging.
Yeah.
But now with that, I don't feel bad saying no. Oh, I can't. That's my family time. Or that's, ever since I started doing this, me and my husband go to Sunday brunch every morning, and I drink a mimosa on Sunday brunch, like some fancy lady, because it was just something I've always wanted to do, and I never did it until I put it in that calendar. And you live by that calendar.
Yep. No. And I mean, there is so much more freedom in it, and I need to get, so this is also another thing, because I know you are a lot more, yourself personally is a lot more organized. I mean, it's kind of in your name. Like, you're more organized and regimented and disciplined than I ever have been. Like, I mean, this is new for me in the last few years. And I'm still sporadic. I'm like a squirrel. The amount of times in our level 10 meeting that my general manager has to be like, Cory, like squirrel. Like, I mean, it's literally just the code word, because I'll just like go that way, and so it has been learning. But even for that, like, I mean, I recently just got our first, a general manager and I are splitting an executive assistant. And so like, just because
Oh, I was going to
she,
recommend you should get an assistant to help you
yes.
stay on
And
track.
so like, and Mandy, I was just meeting, it was so funny. I was meeting with her right before this and she's like, Cory, you've got 5 minutes. And she put up on the screen, like the video. I'm like, oh yeah. Because she is helping manage that calendar, helping keep me accountable. And then also like, goodness, the amount of times then, that I would not get to inboxes. So now it's the most important things that need to go. Like, and she's been fantastic to be able to have that organizational part for me, as like definitely as a person that is the scattered brain, that wants to do the fun, that wants to just go out and do all those things, that I could be self-sabotaging. And she has really helped. And I like just was very upfront with her when she got hired. I was like, I'm going to let you know, like, and I need to know if I'm frustrating you, because I am. Like, this is the person I want to be, and I've seen the success in it, but my tendency is to go like this. And so it's really helpful that like Nicole, that's now known me for 7 years, like she's able to speak into like to help Manny and just say, hey, yes, this is how the kind of person he is. But even Manny in such a short time has been able to be like, hey, let's focus. Let's get on this. Nope, you don't want to cancel that because that was what you told me was a core priority. I'm like, oh yeah, I almost, and I mean, like, I'm not a dummy, but like sometimes I do feel like I need to be talked to like a child. Like I need somebody to just be like, that's not what you're going to do. You're going to go do this. And then you're like, okay, yes, that is a true statement. Let's do it.
This is a great topic because I went through 3 assistants before I found the one that works for me. And it was all my fault, right? I didn't have the proper expectations or training. It was my fault, right? I hired the wrong people. And so now like Marilyn is my executive assistant. And I'll be on a Zoom call and she'll like chime in. You have 5 more minutes. Like someone will ask for a meeting and I'll say like, sure. She goes, well, frankly, I don't think it's worth your time. I'm like, yes, ma'am.
Yes, I know, right? It's so, I mean, it's awesome having between Mandy and Nicole. Like that is so much. We're like, nope. And I'm like, okay, yeah, thanks. Because if not, we want to do all those things. We want to help people. We want to, grow ourselves. But there are times like where, again, if in that calendar you can get that in there and budget that time and have it planned, then yes. Like, I mean, I had a meeting yesterday with a guy from church, and I knew that it was going to be, it was going to be a tough meeting, but I knew, again, that's where I've been trying to do. Like my wife works usually either just on Mondays or on Thursdays. And that is usually the time that I'm like, great, we have a nanny that's at home with the kids. This is an opportunity for me to like budget a happy hour. Like who are the person I need to catch up with? And there was one that even canceled on Monday. I'm like, nope, this is my time to do this. And like called up somebody else, like, let's plan this for this time. But you also know, like, while that is filling in a small way, it's also really draining. Like it's really draining to have some of those meetings and some of those conversations. But we want to do it to either help the person out. You want to just, catch up. You want to make sure people are doing well. And like, or, I mean, that one was half talking personal, family, and business. Like he's a small business owner, videographer, photographer. And like, he's just, he's like, how do I get to that next level? I'm like, well, I don't know your world, but I was like, I can tell you the most amount of conversations I've had with guys that are solo. And what I remember is our argument is always like, well, what I do is so specialized, or what I do really needs my attention and needs that. I'm like, no, it doesn't. Like, for him, I was like, what is one of the biggest time suckers? Like editing videos. I was like, oh my gosh, I bet you could go on to Upwork right now. And I was like, well, then there's all these things. I'm like, just create a Loom video and do it 10 times and have them try. You can still edit it, but I was like, you got to start, Yeah,
you got to create a playbook for that.
Yeah.
I love that topic because right now we do this occasionally. We're doing time audit sheets through the whole WootRecruit organization. I've done it with Organize It another like last quarter or 2 quarters ago. We're doing it now. And I just came out of one of the L10 meetings this morning.
Mm-hmm.
And someone's feedback was like, man, that time audit sheet was really eye-opening to how much time I'm spending on stuff. And this was just someone that works within the marketing department. And for someone like your friend, do a time audit sheet. It's so enlightening. Mm-hmm. It's going to teach you so much about yourself. Like I'm even doing one, and I spent 1 hour yesterday looking for something and never found it. I was looking for a picture of an example of the time audit sheet, and I never found it. And my husband found it in 5 seconds, but I didn't ask him. Again, I thought I was the only one that could look for it.
Yep.
But
Right.
those time audit sheets are amazing because it's going to really force you to write down, what are you doing? What are you spending your time on? And am I the only one who can do it? Someone else can do it, or anyone can do it, or the categories. And you know what? We're not as special as we think we are. Like, we're all special individuals. But I think, when it comes to our business, the things that make our business special are the values of our business, not necessarily what our business is delivering. It's how it delivers it.
Yeah. And that's one thing. I mean, it was two years ago in our strategy summit. So like our end of the year, like, hey, what's our big focus for the company this upcoming year was, we just put around the theme that everything we're going to focus on is quality people doing quality work. So it was like, does that mean, are we hiring the quality people, and are we producing the quality work? So it just is, it's the same idea as you're going back to your core values. But for a year, we realized like, hey, we've had a lot of quality issues. We've had a lot of warranty repairs that went back last year. We've got to really figure this out. And we've also started seeing with doing like a lot more recruiting that if we can build the bench and hire A players, but then if you just always go back to that focus, quality people doing quality work. And so this year they love that. And we're like, well, what's kind of our theme this year? So it was the same, but then and then the last part was held to quality standard. So this year is quality people doing quality work, held to quality standard. So, I mean, for us, like doing things like that, like, so then my operations manager, TJ, like that's his mind. His mind's like yours. He is systems and processes, and thank goodness for him and Nicole, because that's the other thing. If I didn't build this team, there's no way any of this stuff would have been done, because I suck at that stuff. I really do. And so like, yeah,
most people want to hire a version of themselves.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So that's where like TJ's been great, because like we implemented Trainual and using Trainual for a lot of those standards. And that's like the initial for onboarding and like what would be going. And here are our standards and our processes, and him helping to create some of the scorecards. And we call it our tennis sheet. Again, our core values, the acronym tennis. So then we started doing a monthly bonus.
Do you have a tennis team within your organization?
A tennis team. I don't have a tennis team, but so then each one of those.
Company tennis team.
No, we don't. But I used to play. That was my main sport in high school, was actually tennis. So, but like, so then we know everything focuses back to that, like, because we saw that our core values go around quality people doing quality work, and we need to hold it to a quality standard. So it's like their attendance is something that they're graded and bonused on, like for the month, like, okay, if you can hit this, like, so each employee has an opportunity to get an extra $100 at the end of the month based around those core values. Are you held to a certain efficiency? Like, is your neighborly score, like, and that's where we also implemented applause. So they have this net promoter score like that they're ranking against. Are you at least hitting a 9 on that NPS score? Like, and like, so then you created something, the industry leader. Have you been up to date and doing all the stuff that's on Trainual? And then for simple callbacks, that's what callbacks was, is like, so I mean that, so we then create that rubric that is around the core values. And so that's one thing that's been so cool, is like, you just see from the top down, a quality people doing quality work, held at quality standard. And then here's this, that's how we're going to measure it. And here is the team that's going to go then talk to the guys and make sure that they're held to that. And you're like, holy crap, this works. Like, this is insane. Like, how well this works.
I have one question.
Yes.
What would you say to the people who would say, my guys don't care about that stuff?
If they can see that you care about it, then they will care about it. And if they don't care about it, then that's the wrong people on your team.
Thank you. Because I know that, with some of these things, a lot of time we get pushback, whether you're in the cleaning industry or lawn care, is like, oh, my guys won't, they don't care about that. They don't want to do a training. They're not going to care about a quality score. I've heard the same thing in the residential cleaning industry and the commercial. But I agree with you, said if they don't care, then they're the wrong people.
Yep.
Because if you care, they should care.
Yep, exactly. And that's where you just got to be consistent and do that stuff around yourself. And and like, because if you can do that and they see that you care and they see that's a core of your business from the moment, and that initial transition, that is going to be hard. Like, if you can't go 0 to 100 like immediately. Like, you can't just lay down the playbook and just say, this is the way it is. And you can, just know and be prepared that you're going to have 50% exit or 50 or more people that you're going to have to fire. And you've got to be held to that. You can't like kind of come back down. And it's not being the rule enforcer and being the jerk. Like, you're creating a culture and it's going to take time. But I would also know that, like, if you are coming out of the gates and you've had nothing and you lay down the law and you're going to hold to it and you're going to hold your team to it, you better be ready to hire a bunch of new people that can start from ground zero, because other people have been getting away with it too long and they're not going to want to adapt.
And I love that topic, because say we go to conferences, we go here, we go to a mastermind, and we get this motivation, we get inspired. We're like, oh, we're going to do these processes. We're going to implement this. And to me, that's the evolution of business. When we start doing those things, some of the people that were with us don't like that. And that's okay, because that's the evolution of business. You're going to cycle people in and out, because as your business grows, or as the leaders grow, whether it's the owner or leadership grows, the business changes. And that's where the evolution of business comes in. And we have to let go of those people, because if we keep them, that's when we start to have like apathy for our business, frustration. Good people start leaving because, the bad people, whatever we want to call them, the C players, continue to do it the same way they did it before. And well, that's not fair. You're not holding them to the same standard.
Yeah.
And that's when we start to create our own chaos in our business, because we're not following our own direction.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, I'll just give one last example that I would just say, and that even happened even with the size that we have gotten. So we just switched operation managers. Like, we just announced it to the team. I didn't go outside. I really, I felt like we've done a good job with the people that we hire. And if you're going to stay around other than just a seasonal employee, then look, we're going to try and figure out a way to invest into you. If you stick around through winter and the hard times, then, and we see the potential in you, then we'll see what other levels of, in the business it can be. So my operational manager, he's been it for the last, I want to say 2 to 3 years, and fantastic guy. And I just had to have the hard conversation with him. I was like, dude, Al, I think you're hitting your ceiling, man. Like, the business is getting too big for what you do. Now there's other departments that are in here that you don't even know anything about or know how to ask the right questions. Your computer skill level isn't like up to snuff. Now, when we were, 15, 20 people, it was fine. Like, I didn't have as many processes. We didn't keep the scorecards. All what he was great at is relational and starting the culture. And we've been finding he does a lot of our interviews. And heck, man, the guy freaking was rock solid at the guys he's brought on. And he's like our culture curator now. And so I was like, dude, you are on the right bus. And I was like, I don't want this to come as a hit, but I was like, I don't think you're set to be our operations manager anymore. I was like, you do an amazing job when somebody tells you a task that needs to be done, and you do an amazing job hiring guys and relating to them in the field and checking on quality. I was like, so that is a seat I need to build it, because I want you here. This Cory's Lawn Service is your place. This is your home. And he's like, 100%. I was like, and I don't want you to feel beat up like that you're switching positions, but we have to. And that was just, again, like you said, it's the nature of business. He was great for a few years at the size we needed, but when that transformation came and we needed more of the system process, he's just not the guy. But he still has a seat on the bus because he's freaking great at what he does in creating culture.
Love that.
Yep.
So we're going to go ahead and wrap up. This was great. Learned a ton, Cory. Thank you so much for being a guest on the Fearlessness Podcast. And so what is next for Cory? What can our viewers expect? We'll make sure we put your bar, Cory's Lawn Service, any social media handles in the show notes, but do you have anything else in the works?
Not on entrepreneurial side of things right now. I think the main thing in the works is finding the balance. I'm coming off of being the membership chair for EO. I know we didn't get a chance to do that. And so that took a lot of time. So it is finding this, I'm trying to go from that boredom to the extreme to finding somewhere in here that's not going to be the craziness, and kind of recalibrate to see what that next season looks like for me. I've really enjoyed having the conversations with some more of these startups and then getting back into it. I don't know if that's necessarily on a coaching thing, but realistically, it's summertime, kids are out of school. So my immediate need is getting out, getting some vacations in, and getting and playing with kids and getting out golfing is my immediate thing, and figuring out the recalibration.
I love that. Yeah. Somehow I got suckered into being the forum chair for for my forum for EO. I'm like, I
Yep.
don't know what I'm doing, but okay. And of course they picked Libby because she's the organized, more structured one. They're like, you're going to be great for this.
Yep.
I'm like,
I
man.
just completed moderator training as well. And that is, I take over here at our next forum for forum moderator as well. And so
Or
that was,
moderator. That's what I am. I'm the
yep. Yep.
moderator. I'm like,
And so
I don't.
that is, it's a new adventure.
Yes. And I said, when they asked me, I'm like, my husband and my assistant are going to kill me because I've committed to another thing.
Yep. Yep. And that's
They're
where
going to
I'm
be so
like,
mad at me.
I know. And the organizational part of it is what is going to be key for the forum. But I'm looking forward to it. My team is, we had a good retreat that we were able to vision cast what we wanted. And so like, I think I got some good groundwork. It's just, again, if I would have not taken on that role, if I knew that my assistant would have not been able to be there to help keep me organized and saying, have you followed up with these people? Have they done their one-to-one? Have you got a deep dive coaching, And so like those things that are going to be help, like where it's like, yeah, I need somebody to help keep me organized.
Yes. Love this. So guys, that's a wrap. I want to thank all of our listeners. If you want to find more episodes, just visit either libbyd.com or thefearlessness.com. I also want to thank our sponsor, WootRecruit, for always sponsoring our great episodes here at Fearlessness. And remember, every step we take is a move towards our own strengths and courage. So keep walking through those fires, because on the other side lies a version of yourself that's unstoppable. Until next time, remember to embrace your fearlessness. Stay brave, stay bold, and keep pushing forward.